I've managed to get my hands on an LA Golf Trono shaft. Trono? And I'm comparing it to the Ventus Velocore Black. So I'm comparing the shaft to the Ventus Velocore Black. So I've got this in a 6S. The reason I'm using this to test with is because they're so popular on tour and I'm seeing some really good results in terms of fittings. In the Ventus, we've got this smooth gloss finish, which is rather nice. The LA Golf Tronos is more of a matte finish. Can you hear that? Which is quite a nice difference. I'm going to be hitting these shafts on the Srixon ZX7 MKII Driver. Now the first thing I'll say is that on the matte black head and the matte black shaft, it's quite a nice combo. Now I've already hit a few shots, but I'm going to kick things off with the LA Golf Trono shaft. And so far I've seen some quite interesting results compared to the Velocore. So I have picked the shaft up a few times and given it a good whack. Each time I pick it up for the first time, the ball definitely hangs out to the right. Now that wasn't the best contact on the face. I've hit it a little bit high, but it's staying straighter and it's staying on line. I am normally quite prone to a bit of an overdraw that hugs the left-hand side of the course, unless I play for it. So reading up on this shaft, it's been developed with the likes of Bryson DeChambeau. It's got a really hard midsection and a bit more play in the top end and the bottom end of the shaft. And there's a lot of chat out there that says that the midsection is the biggest influence on flight and spin. And it's definitely not for the faint-hearted, and I'm seeing this kind of like push fade come out a little bit more, which is a flight that I'm not really used to, but I do quite like it. It feels very stable through impact, so I'm not feeling a lot of distortion, a lot of deflection from the head at all. And I have had a couple of shots on here that have hugged the left-hand side where I'm almost trying to overwork the shaft because it's staying open and staying to the right a bit more, which is why in a test I don't try and hit too many golf balls in a row with the same setup. Oh, that was off the heel. Off the heel, but it's still going like an absolute bullet. 161 ball speed on a missed strike, 282 carry, just over 2,000 spin. I've hit that off the heel at 304, which is very welcome. When you're looking at a shaft like this, they don't twist as much. There's less torque, so when you do hit them off center, you do maintain more ball speed in general. Now the shaft I've got in my hands is a 65 grams stiff. Now for a 65 gram stiff shaft, it feels really quite hard. It feels very much like an extra stiff. And if I had this in an extra stiff, I would probably struggle to get it airborne. And I'd be happy to say with even this profile of shaft, I can't take my foot off the pedal at all. Now all the shafts I'm testing today are spine aligned, so there's a spine in every shaft that is harder basically, so that area of the shaft is facing the target to give me the most consistent results that I can find with the shaft. Now the first shaft in the Velocore that I'm going to hit is the 6S. So 6 normally relates to the weight and S is the flex, so we've got a very similar weight and flex profile compared to the LA Golf shaft. Now I can definitely feel a lot more load and release into the ball from the shaft. It's got a bit more activity to it. That was very nice at 310. 163 ball speed and 2,400 spin. One of the benefits of the Velocore shaft is that we've got a stronger tip section that reduces the twisting that we get on the shot. So again, more feeding into that off-center strike, being less twisty and maintaining more ball speed through the shot. I do find this shaft a lot easier to hit that draw with, and as soon as I pick up the LA Golf Trono, I have to work quite hard to get a draw, which is actually quite a nice feeling. Tiny bit off the top of the head. Not too bad on direction and shape. I've just scraped the fairway there, and we'll take that at 304 for a not pure strike. 160 ball speed, 2,300 spin. I have got some ball data on the GC quad already that will feed into the overall analysis. But I want to hit the Ventus in a 6X, so extra stiff, to compare to the stiff shaft in the LA Golf. Because it is a harder profile of shaft, it might be a bit more relevant to an extra stiff flex. Now I did also hit the 7X, which is just slightly heavier, and my ball speed's dropped basically, so I think that shaft is just a notch up from the ones that we're trying here, and that sort of 7X was just a little bit harder and more cumbersome to work with. And you'd normally see this sort of 7X in a fairway wood as opposed to a driver, unless you're an absolute beast. I've absolutely ripped through that. 164 ball speeds, 2,300 spin, landing up there quite a way up and rolling up to 309. Tidy. Now I am quite familiar with the 6X because it's what I fitted myself for last year, and this is actually the shaft from my driver in my golf bag. Although I am doing testing at the minute to see if I need a new head compared to my old one, just to see if I get a little bit more out of it, which so far I know there is more available with the Cleveland XL driver compared to the new Srixon stuff. Just waiting on the new ZX5 LS. Nice. Arrow straight. I quite like this hole because I've got room to move left to right. As long as I carry that bunker, I'm quite happy to hit it 312, just off the center line as well. Nice. Again, I'm a little bit more familiar with this shaft. So I just want to hit a couple more shots with the Trono because there are some quite nice benefits to it. Oh, it definitely just goes right. So as soon as I've hit another shaft and then go back to this, it just hangs out to the right, way easier than the other shafts. So the Velocore feels like it's got a little bit more load and release into the ball. This doesn't have anything helping it. You've got to get this club through the ball. And anything heavier and stiffer than a 65S in this shaft will resemble a lamppost. So once I've hit a few shots with this, I kind of adjust and I get the ball to go online, and it's harder to hit the ball left with it, which is nice because I do have a bit of an overdraw. But having hit another shaft temporarily, going back to this, it goes right. I want to get through the ball. And I've worked hard for that and hit a little push fade and a tiny bit high in the face, so it's not perfect. 160 ball speed, 3,000 spin, but strike kind of contributed to that. I can get this shaft to work if I hit more than 3 shots in a row. I can sort of adjust myself to it. It does require a bit more from me to get it going. And grouping wise, most of these shots are on that right hand side. Let's try and get one left. And I've worked really hard for that, and I've hit it like slightly left of the center line. But it means that I can go flat out at this golf ball at 312. I just can't take my foot off the pedal at all. So LA Golf Trono, I do want to take this shot out because I hit a tree, obviously. And there's one other that I've crossed off as well that went 261. So it was a bit of a misstrike, but let's have a look at some averages. So the main thing to look at on this screen is my average offline is 2.8 yards right. When I go into the Velocore shafts, I'm looking at 15.9 left and 20.5 left. So there's your stiff against your extra stiff, where your softer shaft goes just that little bit left in comparison. Peak height exactly the same, 43 on the Velocore shafts, peak height 44, so only 1 yard different in the Trono. Draw spin wise, I've got 450 revs of draw spin, 263 revs of draw spin in the 2 Velocore shafts. When I go to the Trono, I've only got 100, so there's definitely more right bias, less draw spin available with the Trono shaft. Slightly more digestible view, I've got the LA Golf shaft at the top. Ball speed not too bad, it's quite similar to the Velocore. Launch angle quite similar as well, so we're only just a flick lower than the other two, so we are presenting slightly less loft at the ball on average. More spin and more variance in the spin, that's possibly because I'm having to work and then not quite work with the shaft to get it to go. Carry very similar, 285 against 288, and then we've got the 6X, which is my gamer shaft at 291, so I'm not surprised that is a bit further because I'm used to it. I can normally get the 6S to give me a bit more ball speed, but my ball striking isn't always as clean with it, so ball speed could be down because of the striking. And then when we're looking at the grouping on these shots, we've got the Velocore shafts are quite close to each other. Again, like the flex doesn't change too much, it's just that little bit of fine-tuning detail between them. LA Golf shaft, bigger spread, but more to the right-hand side. We're definitely missing that fairway. We're definitely hitting that shot more to the right. Hopefully you found that quite useful. Drop in the comments if you've used any of these shafts and if you found any similar results to that. If you hit the ball left quite a lot, the Trono shaft can be a bit of a weapon to hold the ball out to the right-hand side. I really want to try that shaft on a low spin head. So as soon as I get the ZX5 LS drivers, I'll give them the whack with the Trono, because that could bring the spin down and make them go quite far. Oh yeah, and subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff.